Hello, everyone. This is Miss Diener again. Let me see if I can remember all my students without looking. Hi, Darrell. Hi, Brian. Hi, Kaden. Hi, Nakara. Hi, Jonas. Hi, Alan, Orlando, and Mariko. I think you sit at that table. Hi, Aiden, Kaden, Jaden, Miles, and Corbin. Hi, Austin, Atyrian, Desmond, and Dylan. I think that's everyone. All 16 of you. So, parents, this is like take 300 of me trying to read Diary of a Wimpy Kid with no interruptions. So, at this point, my house will have to catch fire for me to start over. Whew, this is not easy. So, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, the last straw. This week in our newsletter, I asked you guys to focus on the main idea. And I think this would be good since with these books, there's always something big that kind of happens at the end that leads you into the next book. And while I don't have all the books, I thought it would be fun for us to keep track of what we think the main idea is going to be or what we think the last straw is going to be in this book. So far, we have read about Greg's family not following through with their New Year's resolutions. And we know that it seems like there's a house with 5 people, Greg, his mom, his dad, and his 2 brothers, and 1 bathroom. I feel that way, or my supporting details to that would be the fact that when his dad wakes him up, Greg has to wait to use the restroom behind his mom. And in most homes, there's like a master bedroom and bath, and then there's at least 1 other bathroom. So if Greg's got to wait for his mom to get out the bathroom, I'm going to assume that there's only 1 bathroom. So that could be the last straw. That's a lot. 5 people, 1 bathroom. I mean, that's a lot. So, especially trying to get up in the morning and get ready and get dressed. So maybe that's the last straw. And again, those are my supporting details as to why that could possibly be the last straw. So we want to come up with a main idea or what we think the last straw is going to be, and then something to support why we feel that way. And as we read, we'll get to the end and we'll see who had the right answer first, who was close, and just kind of talk amongst your parent and your siblings or whatever, and see if you can figure out what the last straw is going to be for Mr. Greg, our main character. So, Monday. For the past week or so, Manny has been getting out of bed every night and coming downstairs. Instead of putting him right back to bed, Mom lets Manny sit with us and watch TV. It's really not fair because when Manny is with us, I'm not allowed to watch any of the shows I like. All I can say is when I was a kid, there wasn't any of this getting out of bed stuff. I did it once or twice, but Dad put a stop to it real quick. There was a book Dad used to read to me every night called The Giving Tree. It was a really good book, but the back of it had the picture of the author, a guy named Shel Silverstein. But Shel Silverstein looks more like a burglar or a pirate than a guy that should be writing kids' books. Dad must have known that picture freaked me out because one night after I got out of bed, Dad said, "If you get out of bed again tonight, you'll probably run into this Shel Silverstein guy in the hallway." That really did the trick. Ever since then, I still don't get out of bed at night, even if I really need to use the bathroom. I don't think Mom and Dad read Manny any Shel Silverstein books, which probably explains why he keeps getting up after they put him to bed. I've heard some of the stories Mom and Dad read to Manny, and let me just say that the people who write these books really have a racket going. First of all, there are hardly any words in them, so I'm sure it only takes about 5 seconds to write one. Silly bear yawning, silly bear sad, silly bear sleeping, silly bear glad. The End. I told Mom what I thought of Manny's books, and she said that if they were so easy to write, then I should try writing one myself. So that's exactly what I did. Trust me, it wasn't easy either. All you have to do is make up a character with a snappy name, and then make sure the character learns a lesson at the end of the book. Now, all I need to do is mail this thing off to the publisher and wait for the money to start rolling in. Wise Up, Sharop Sharp by Greg Heffley. Once upon a time, there was a man named Sharop Sharp who thought all these crazy thoughts. I don't know much, but I know one thing. Polar bears are some useless animals. One day, Mr. Sharop Sharp took a ride in his car. Here I go. But then, whoops. Mr. Sharop Sharp, you would have drowned, but luckily, Two Buck was here, sitting on an iceberg, and saved your life. And so, before I said that polar bears were some useless animals, but now I can see that not every polar bear is so useless after all. So the person who saved his life was Two Buck the polar bear. See what I mean? Only thing I noticed is that after I finished the book, I forgot to make it rhyme. But the publisher is going to have to pay me extra if he wants all of that. Saturday. Well, after spending the last 2 weeks walking to school, I was really looking forward to kicking back and doing nothing for 2 days. The problem with watching TV on a Saturday is that the only thing on is golf or bowling. Plus, the sun comes through our sliding glass window and you can barely see the TV screen anyway. Today, I wanted to change the channel, but the remote was on top of the coffee table, and I was all comfortable with my bowl of cereal in my lap, so I really didn't want to get up. What do you call somebody that won't reach to get the remote? Starts with an L, rhymes with crazy. I tried using the force to make the remote levitate to me, even though I've tried it a million times before and it never worked. Today I tried for about 15 minutes and concentrated really hard, but no luck. I just wish I had known Dad was standing right behind me the whole time. Dad told me I was going to have to go outside and get some exercise. I told Dad I exercise all the time. And just this morning, I used the bench press he got me. But I should have came up with something more believable because it was pretty obvious that wasn't true. See, the reason Dad is on my case about exercise and all that is because he's got this boss named Mr. Warren, and Mr. Warren has 3 boys who are crazy sports fanatics. Dad sees the Warren kids outside their front yard every day on his way home from work when his carpool goes by their house. So I think Dad is pretty disappointed every time he gets home and sees what his sons are up to. Anyway, like I said, Dad kicked me out of the house today. I couldn't really think of anything I wanted to do, but then I had a good idea. So, yesterday at lunch, Albert Sandy was telling everyone about this guy in China or Thailand or someplace who could jump 6 feet straight in the air, no joke. The way the guy did it was by digging a hole that was 3 inches deep and then jumping in and out of it 100 times. The next day, the guy doubled the size of the hole and jumped out of that. By the 5th day, he was practically like a kangaroo. Some of the guys at my table told Albert he was full of baloney, but what he was saying made a lot of sense to me. Plus, I figured if I did what Albert said and then added a few days to the program, all my problems with bullies would be over. I got a shovel out of the garage and found a place in the front yard that looked like a good spot to dig. Before I could even get started, Mom came outside and asked me what I was up to. I told Mom I was just digging a hole, but of course she didn't like that idea. So she came up with about 20 reasons why I wasn't allowed to do it. Mom told me it was dangerous to dig a hole in the yard because of underground electrical lines and sewage pipes and stuff. Then she made me promise up and down that I wouldn't dig any holes in our yard. So I promised. Mom went inside, but then she kept watching me from the window. I knew I was going to have to take my shovel and dig a hole somewhere else, so I headed to Riley's house. I haven't been going up to Riley's much lately, mostly because of Fregley. Fregley has been spending a lot of time in his front yard, and sure enough, that's where he was today. My new strategy with Fregley was just to avoid eye contact and keep walking, and it seemed to do the trick today. Does this scab smell funny to you? That's what Fregley said. When I got to Riley's, I told him my idea and how the two of us would practically be ninjas if we stuck with this whole hole jumping program I planned out. But Riley didn't seem too hot on the idea. He said his parents might get mad if we dug a 10-foot hole in his yard without asking them, so he's going to have to get their permission first. Now, if there's one thing I know about Riley's parents is that they never liked my ideas. I told Riley we could just cover up the hole with like a tarp or a blanket or something and put some leaves on top, and his folks would never find out. That seemed to convince him. Okay, so I admit that Riley's parents might eventually find out, but that wouldn't be for at least 3 or 4 months. Me and Riley found a good spot in the front yard to start digging, but we ran into a problem right away. See why this might not be such a good idea. So what makes covering the hole with a tarp a bad idea? The ground was pretty much frozen solid, and we could hardly even make a dent. I spent a few minutes trying before I handed the shovel over to Riley. He couldn't really make any progress either, but I gave him an extra long turn so he would feel like he was contributing to the project. Ooh, excuse me. Riley got a little bit further than I did, but when it started getting dark, he gave up. I guess we'll take another crack at this thing tomorrow, Sunday. Well, I thought about it a lot overnight, and I realized that at the rate me and Riley were going, we're going to be in college before this hole is 10 feet deep. So I came up with a totally different idea for what we could do. I remember this thing I saw on TV where scientists made a time capsule and filled it with a bunch of stuff like newspapers and DVDs and things like that. Then the scientists buried the time capsule in the ground. The idea was that in a few hundred years, when someone came along to dig it up, they would learn about how people from our time used to live. I told Riley about my idea, and he seemed pretty enthusiastic about it. Mostly, I think he was just glad we weren't going to spend the next few years digging a hole. I asked Riley to donate some items to put in the time capsule, and that's when he got cold feet. I told Riley that if he put some of his Christmas presents in the time capsule, people in the future would get some pretty cool stuff when they opened the box. Riley told me that wasn't fair because I wasn't putting any of my Christmas presents in the time capsule. So I had to explain to him that the people in the future would think we were pretty lame if they opened a box filled with socks and books and clothes. Then I told Riley I'll throw $3 of my own money to prove I was making sacrifices too. That seemed to be enough to convince him to fork over his new video games and a couple other things. I actually had a secret plan that I wasn't letting Riley in on. I knew that putting the cash in the time capsule was a smart move because the money is going to be worth a lot more than $3 in the future. So hopefully, whoever finds this time capsule will travel back in time and reward me for making them rich. Is that how these time capsules work? I don't think so. Almost at page 40. I wrote a little note and put it in the box just to make sure the person who finds it knows exactly who to thank. To whom it may concern, this cash is from Greg Heffley, 12 Shirley Street. Me and Riley found a shoebox and put all our stuff in it, and then we sealed it with some masking tape. I wrote a little note outside the box to make sure it didn't get opened too soon. After that, we put it in the hub with the hole we dug yesterday and buried it as best we could. I kind of wish Riley had put a little bit more effort into digging our hole because our time capsule wasn't buried all the way. Hopefully no one will mess with it because it needs to stay in there for at least a few hundred years. Excuse me. Well, let's see. We'll stop here because it's another start to a different week. It's Monday, and we're on page 37. So you guys are going to write, based on these next 20 pages, what you now think the last straw might be. A lot went on in this chapter. His dad is making him spend a little bit more time outside. They made a time capsule with his friend Riley. So let's just think on that and see what you think the main idea or the last straw will be for Greg in this story.